Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. For this episode, we're going to be talking about some underground 1980s heavy metal bands. Gee, I'll bet you never saw that coming on this channel. The sort of thing that connects these three particular bands together is that they had all female lineups, which has never been particularly common in heavy metal, let alone during the 1980s. Lots of bands have had, some female members included. And even throughout the 1980s, there were lots of bands that had a female vocalist or maybe one other, musician that was a female. But not a lot of bands have had an all-girl lineup. And there are a few big ones that people are familiar with, of course, such as, Vixen. Granted, Vixen is not most people's favorite hair metal band of the period. I always thought their songs were extremely good for that style, however. Yeah, the two bigger examples of more serious heavy metal bands are, of course, the excellent Girl School from the new wave of British heavy metal, and also Rock Goddess, who was kind of part of the new wave of British heavy metal, I suppose. It always feels to me like maybe they came slightly later, but I don't think that's right. I never really dug into their stuff as much. Girl School was always the one of the two that I preferred quite a bit. But again, those names are familiar to lots of folks. Those aren't the bands we're talking about tonight. We're going to dig a little deeper and find some bands that you may not have heard much about, give you a chance to hear clips from some of the records they did, and we'll take it from there. Up first is a band from the San Francisco Bay Area who picked a name that left no doubt that it was going to be an all-female lineup, Malibu Barbie. Because yes, don't think a band of all male musicians would have gone with that moniker. Malibu Barbie released a couple of things. What I've got here is a 12-inch single that came out in 1987. It's known as Rude Girls, which is on the gravestone over here that the heavy metal mermaid creature is kind of checking out. The band came from an earlier band that was called Rude Girls, but I don't know if they were just lineup changes or they shifted direction musically. But yeah, some of the members went on and carried on as Malibu Barbie instead of Rude Girls. They made this 12-inch single in 87, and let's check out what it sounds like. The first side is called Lords of the Night. Yeah, right away, pretty heavy song. It's got a very good crunch to it. The vocals, are a little deeper and more forceful power to them. Actually, a pretty kick-ass song for sure. Let's check out the flip side and see what that's at before talking about Malibu Barbie a little bit more. The flip side is called When Lightning Strikes.
Remember the last word that he said.
Yeah, so once again, relatively forceful song, playing a little more up tempo, getting maybe borderline thrashy even there. So, yeah, Malibu Barbie, goofy name. You figured, yeah, the name's meant to get attention and probably did. You don't know, maybe did it hurt the band's chances long term though? Yeah, hard to say. There's an interesting footnote you may have noticed when I showed the back cover. There's a little blurb here that says "In memory of Cliff Burton." And I've talked about Malibu Barbie before. I've shown this record on an older video. And interestingly, in the comments on that video, the drummer's brother actually reached out and left a comment and said that, yeah, this was on here because the band did know Cliff Burton and, they actually had the chance to sort of, play, hang out with him on the San Francisco scene back in the day. So it wasn't just like a random tribute because they liked his music or anything like that. But yeah, they actually did have a personal connection to Cliff back in the day. So it was really cool of him to leave a comment and help explain what that was about, because previously I had no idea why that was there, and now we do. So yeah, Malibu Barbie, the 12-inch single is quite good. For a long time, it was relatively rare and a little bit expensive. In the late, I want to say it was like in the late 2000s, it might have been in the early 2010s. Um, the guys over at Shadow Kingdom Records ended up with a few copies of it. I don't know if they contacted a band member or just, found them somewhere, but they did have a handful of copies, and, that helped bring the price down a little bit. But that's now been, 15 or so years ago. I'm not sure what the record is selling for these days, but you can check it out on Discogs if you're interested. Malibu Barbie did release one more item. There's an EP, but it didn't come out until 1992. It's called Ain't Life Swell. And by that time, of course, lineup changes had occurred. There's a different vocalist on that recording. I've heard it, but it doesn't impress me nearly as much as the Rude Girls 12-inch single from 1987 does. And why a 12-inch single? Yeah, that's never been the most popular format for heavy metal bands in particular. I don't know. Uh, it does give you, a much bigger piece of cover art, so it's a lot easier to see. And most folks by 1987 probably weren't flipping through the 7-inch singles much anyway. But you never know. They maybe were setting out hoping to do something like, an EP or a full-length album, and just ran out of money or something, couldn't come up with the finances, and so ended up doing it as a single instead. Regardless, two really good songs. Cool band. Shame they didn't get some more stuff released. There are some demo recordings and things like that out there, but yeah, Rude Girls I think is their only piece of vinyl. I'm not sure the Ain't Life Swell ever came out on vinyl or if it was only on other formats. All right, let's move on to band number two. We'll stay in the California area. And the second act is called Leather Angel. Again, name maybe is a little generic, but let's pull up a picture from the archives here. So, Leather Angel were on, kind of, the early Sunset scene. They had originally gone by the name Obsession, but there was also a band in Connecticut called Obsession who got signed to Metal Blade early on. So this Obsession ended up changing their name to the more distinctive Leather Angel. Their logo was reportedly actually designed by Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue. So again, they were on that same scene as a lot of those bands that were up and coming, Motley Crue, Rat, Striper, etc. And Leather Angel made one EP, and it came out in 82 or 83. Going to play a clip from one of the songs. I don't own this one, but we'll still check out a clip of it. This is the song We Came to Kill by Leather Angel. So, okay, a reasonably heavy kind of number for sure. You can see this band fitting in with that, very early LA scene, back when Motley Crue was still shouting at the devil and Too Fast for Love and such. Not a bad track whatsoever. Some of the others on the EP are not as good, but it's still not a bad release overall. It's the kind of thing if I came across a used copy, for a decent price, yeah, I would probably pick it up. I just never have. It was on a label called Miami 1992. Strange name for a label, but it did have distribution through Enigma Records. So again, a lot of bigger labels were sniffing around that sunset scene in the early 80s. And it seems like, Leather Angel was on the cusp of maybe having the right connections, but sadly, yeah, nothing really worked out for them. They had member changes once again. They ended up changing their name again to Jaded Lady and carried on for just a little while under that name. I don't think anything was released beyond demos as Jaded Lady. They did, however, get one more footnote in heavy metal history because they did show up in the Decline of Western Civilization 2, the Metal Years movie. And I think they're under the name Jaded Lady by that point. So, yeah, Leather Angel, relatively cool band. The name and the kind of associations with, LA, Motley Crue and stuff, those are the kinds of tidbits that could cause someone to be like, "Yeah, I'll pass on that one." But it's actually a pretty decent record. If you find it for the right price, you might give it a chance and not just bypass it because of, guilt by association. All right. For our third and last band, we're moving from California over to San Antonio, Texas. Texas had a huge metal scene, a lot of bands in San Antonio throughout the 1980s. This band had an all-female lineup and is a bit of a head scratcher in a couple of ways. Uh, you'll see what I mean. The band is called Heather Leather. Okay, we again, the name tells you right away that, yep, this is going to be, a female act. Is it a name that did them justice, or did people unfortunately start to write it off as a joke because it's a little bit corny? I don't know. Anyway, Heather Leather was originally the lineup had three sisters in it, and they made one single in 1985. It's called We Came to Destroy. You got sort of a guitar flying through, I don't know if it's a burning heart or if that's blood pouring out of the heart due to the guitar being driven through it. Not really sure, but regardless, let's check out a clip of We Came to Destroy, see what Heather Leather sounds like.
You better lock your doors tonight. Don't think I'm nothing. Don't try to pull out something from me. I'll take you away. Yeah. Destroy. We came to destroy. We will blow you away.
All right, you're getting the idea. And yes, she missed that note pretty bad there at the end of the chorus, but that is We Came to Destroy by Heather Leather. The musicianship here is a bit more rudimentary. Let's be honest about it. It's not without its charm, however. It's almost got a slightly punky vibe to it as well. And the band did get featured on a hardcore crossover compilation album. It's called Metal Moo Cow. I don't know why it's called that. I've never seen it. It's just a footnote that's mentioned in the band when you look them up. The back of the picture sleeve, the band is looking, pretty tough here, featured, alongside the tank. And yeah, again, something about the picture looks, almost as punky as it does metal in a way. Uh, Something that's very interesting though is I have another picture of the band that came with the single when I bought it. They had a press photo done, and the press photo is in a very, very different style than the picture sleeve. Here are the sisters, press photo for Heather Leather. Again, named Sylvia, Sandy, and Ruth. And yeah, about as different a photo image as you could be going for here. And it's not a bad picture, but it's kind of, they're going for kind of, very different looks here. It's not exactly the most, metal of picture, although I think the one in front here is, still wearing like, the bracelets and, studded bracelets and stuff. This may be a studded bow tie collar, which is kind of cool if that's what I'm actually seeing in the picture there. But yeah, this picture almost looks like they could be trying out for like, 80s TV sitcom on the ABC network or something. And, the other picture, yes, looks like, they're going to, absolutely, destroy your entire town. They did come to destroy after all. So yeah, a weird pair of, pictures featuring Heather Leather there. Um, Now, I haven't mentioned the flip side. And the flip side is maybe what this record is somewhat notorious for. This one is relatively hard to find. And there is some collectability to it, if for no other reason than Texas heavy metal records have always kind of carried a bit of a premium. Like I mentioned, it was a very active scene. Not a ton of bands got to put out records, and a lot of the ones that were pressed seem to be in very limited quantities. So the Heather Leather single is one that can run you three figures pretty easily when it shows up. You kind of have to decide whether you want it in your search engine or not, because the flip side is called Child Molester. And even in 1985, this wasn't a good idea for a song title. Everyone carries on these days about, the sudden, increase in our society about wanting to cancel things or, poo-poo certain things. Cannibal Corpse is catching a bunch of, crap currently at the time of this recording. But it was never, ever a good idea. It doesn't matter what year it was to release a song called Child Molester. Um, I'm going to play a very short clip of this one so that you can get the idea. We're not going to go because they tend to chant in the chorus, they kind of chant the title over and over. And that sounds like the kind of thing that, yeah, you get profiled for having on your YouTube channel. But I'll play just a short clip of the beginning of the flip side so you can get an idea of the style that it's in.
He's a loving the cover and it's in the wind, but they know where to find him. They tell him drop dead, drop dead. Oh, listen, come on, show. Whoa, what you
All right, that's enough of that. So yeah, again, it's got almost kind of a punky metal sound to it. I can kind of understand why they would have been featured on that hardcore crossover compilation with the sound they had. Again, not the most skilled musicians in heavy metal history, just being honest there. But the music does have a charm to it, even if they did pick one of the tackiest song titles they could have, even if they are saying like drop dead over and over through the lyrics as well. But wait, the story is not quite over for Heather Leather. Um, Unknown to me and probably most folks until I started, getting ready to record this, it turns out the band got back together and released a full album in 2005. And the album is entitled Princess Leather. It's an independent release. Looks like the three sisters are still the key ones involved. I have not heard it. There's one review on Metal Archives that gives it like 5%. um, Metal Archives reviews, you take them for what you will. Sometimes they're dead on, sometimes they're way, way off. You look at the reviews for something like Germany's Brain Fever, they're pretty lukewarm, and that band's amazing. Uh, but yeah, I don't know anything about the Princess Leather album. I'm reporting it here for the sake of completion. So it looks like that's the only other thing that the band did. So they did get the one rare single out, appeared on a compilation, and did have a comeback album that at least one person was not very fond of. I can't say because I haven't heard of it. So yeah, kind of a strange history to the band Heather Leather there. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So we've checked out a couple of different all-female acts. The near thrash of Malibu Barbie, the punky sort of amateur but kind of neat sounds of Heather Leather, and the more tough LA sounds of Leather Angel. So now let's talk metal in the comments down below. I know there are other all-female bands that were operating during the 1980s in the heavy metal underground. Leave a comment below and let me know what other ones you liked, what they sounded like. Give people an idea of where to point them out. YouTube doesn't handle links being put in the comments very well at all. So, don't say like, hey, here's a video of this other really awesome all-female act. Just, give folks the name, let them know they can search it on YouTube and find stuff if there's footage or song clips or stuff out there for them to hear. But yeah, let me know what you thought of these. Malibu Barbie, pretty good. Would you pick that one up based on its sound? Would you want the Heather Leather single to be, part of your Discogs collection with that song title? Again, if nothing else, it is a pretty rare single. If you ever see it cheap, it's something, as long as you're okay with it in your search history, you can, pick it up and probably flip it. There are, collectors of those obscure things, especially from the Texas heavy metal scene that Heather Leather was a part of. But I've talked long enough. Let's wrap this one up. And until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your head.